Right, good morning everybody. I am back on this channel from a few weeks away, and today I just want to talk about what we need to be focusing on right now. As normal, this is just stream of consciousness, no editing, but I know have some thoughts to think about. Right, so if you're kind of looking at your TV screens and looking at the noise around tariffs, around the stock markets, around the economy, etc., you know we're in this time of massive uncertainty. That's a statement of the obvious. I guess if you've been in the world long enough, and I say that as a genx person, you know that we go through these cycles every so often. Some of you are obviously more familiar with COVID. Some of you may be familiar with the global financial crisis, but then we've seen that with the recession around the time of the 9/11 attacks. We saw that with the dot-com bubble, etc. So it's natural to have these cycles of uncertainty. That's the nature of things. Things may feel different this time because you have the advent of AI, you have the uncertainty about the Trump presidency and the types of policies he will put in place, etc. But the nature of life is uncertainty. I think one of the things that we try to ensure in life is a degree of certainty, and it's only natural. You know, we want to know where our next meal's coming from. We want to know where cash for the next bill is coming from. We want to know how life will play out, generally speaking, but life doesn't work like that. Stuff happens often to many of us, and I guess the world around us sometimes feels like it's changing all the time. Sometimes it's going at a glacial pace and you never notice it, but it's always changing. So I guess going back to my original point as to what we should be focusing on, what we should be doing, is firstly trying to find ways to relax. Now, I say this as someone who does have insomnia a lot of the time, sometimes, but I am trying to find different ways in which to counter that. So a bit more of a digital detox, so get off social media going into the evening, because I know that whatever I see will trigger something in my head which will make me ruminate over all sorts of stuff. So manage your consumption. Manage your consumption is actually a good way of looking at a lot of things in life. Your consumption of stuff, the TV you watch, the stuff you watch on social media, what you see on YouTube, etc. Manage that. Obviously, manage what you consume on a physical level. So the food, the drink, etc. All of these are about trying to ensure that you have a bit more balance in life. And I'm saying that this moment in time, I'm doing my twice annual detox. I do it for about a month each time. I'm about halfway through at this time. It does ultimately it does work for me. And ultimately it's about removing certain things from my existence for a month at a time. So no meat, no dairy, no alcohol, no artificial sugars. When I say that, I mean no biscuits, no chocolates, no sweets. Remove caffeine. I don't have much caffeine anyway. And this is all about trying to reset. I used to kind of have it packaged as a detox, but actually I want it to be about a rebalance. So it's not just about the physical. This is also about the mental and the emotional. So I'm trying to ensure that I have a regular breathing or breath work practice. I try to do a bit more meditation, although I haven't done as much because of the breath work filling that time. I try to read more books that are positive. I try to connect more with people that have more positive things to say. So either friends or things I see online, rather than be reactive to what I see on social media. So I seek out the good stuff rather than respond to whatever is put my way. And I think that's important for all of us in terms of whether you're doing a detox or whether you're trying to work out how to navigate the current time, is you dictate what you consume and what you give out. One thing an interesting concept that I have heard a few times now is this concept of high agency. And this is the idea of you being so very much in control of your environment, or taking ownership, taking responsibility of your environment, rather than waiting for the environment to impact you. The metaphor that I saw, for example, was the idea that you are stranded on a desert island and you find a lot of wood. And so what do? The lower agency type of person would get the wood and shape it into the word help on the beach, so that any planes or helicopters overhead would see and come and rescue you. Now the high agency person would basically get that wood and fashion it into a raft and try to escape that way. Now, I mean, real world, getting on that raft probably ain't going to work well for you. I mean, you could put yourself in more danger, but the principle is that you take more ownership over your life rather than wait for life to impact you. The reality is, stuff will happen. Life isn't going to be easy. And if you find yourself on that easier path of existence, be prepared for things to turn against you at some point. It's just the way things are. So, I like the idea of the saying, better to sweat in peacetime than bleed in war. So in other words, put the work in now rather than life happen to you and you're bleeding. So this is really about taking ownership, taking control. And again, back to the original point, what you should be doing now is taking control of your career, of your finances, of your relationships, of your health. I've talked about all of these elements in different ways in different videos. So look back at previous videos that I've done. But it's really about taking control. And again, I'm just an average bloke who has an idea, has a few views on the world. I'm not a Tony Robbins or a Jim Rohn or anybody who's on a pedestal telling everybody what to do. I just am looking at finding ways in which to elevate myself beyond the current environment. And I think we should all try and find ways to elevate ourselves beyond the current environment rather than wait for the environment to dictate and shape how your life goes. So, yeah, that's really the message. If there's one thing that you need to do, is just take ownership, take responsibility, do stuff. One of my biggest weaknesses over the years I've been a real conceptualizer, thinker, almost intellectualizing a lot of ideas and concepts and philosophies. And that's great, but where does that take you? Ideas take you nowhere. You need to actually act upon them. You need to act upon them and realize that doesn't work for you or it failed for you, and then you move on. But by just kind of getting this comfy, cozy feel of, oh, this is a great idea, but never actually applying it, it just lulls you into a false sense of security. So take ownership. If it's about your finances, don't ignore your statements, of your brokerage accounts, or your bank statements. Look at it, take a deep breath and go, okay, I'm going to see what I can do to improve my situation. Because sticking your head in the sand is not going to be the answer. Panicking is not going to be the answer. selling all your stocks at the bottom of the market is not going to be the answer. So just take ownership, take a deep breath, see where you could be lacking in terms of skills or education or support, and seek out some kind of help along the way, whether it's through a book or a coach or just a friend. But don't suffer in silence. Don't just let the world take over your situation. You have to step into the world and find ways in which you can be resilient enough to at least face up to some of the slings and arrows that life will throw you. Okay, so that's all I have today. Again, I'm doing this detox now, another 2 weeks. One thing that I do get from the detox is far more clarity in thinking, far more calm. You could say, why don't I do it all the time? Well, I like a bit of meat. I like a drink. I like chocolates. So yes, maybe I should be restricting those a bit more, but I don't want to suddenly give up my life unless I have to. Let's put it that way. But I do think doing some form of reset once or twice a year at least gives you some time to think, time to pause, time to move on, time to take some ownership and responsibility on your life. Okay, so like and subscribe just to find out how to improve your own journey. Follow my journey, because again, I'm no guru. I'm just someone who's got these ideas and I'm trying to put these ideas into practice. So follow to see whether I fall flat on my face, and I'll give updates on how this all plays out, because none of this works in a linear straight line. But I have so many different goals, which I will talk about in future episodes about AI, about trying to stay ahead of the curve in a world that is running away from a lot of us. So I will talk about what I'm doing on the AI front, at least to try and stay relevant. Okay, well, have a great time, great day, and see you soon.